Watch verse 7. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die, yet peradventure for a good man some would even dare to die. But God. Okay, you missed your shot. Let me start over. I'm going to just start over. Now I'm going to read it in my version. For when we were in the club with the drink in our hand, when we were hanging out at the Zydeco, at the hotel after party in the lobby, with the key in our pocket, knowing we're up to no good, Christ died for the ungodly. Is that better? Can you? I'm just trying, wait, can you hear that? For scarcely for a good dude will anybody die. Even for real, for a really great person, some would even think about dying. But God. Loved us in such a way that while we were still trapped in sin, Christ died for us. Say amen. Find a neighbor's hand, hold it like you've been saved, and just say, neighbor, preacher needs your prayers. All of your amens. Today's sermon subject, if I don't know anything else. Take your seats. Give me just 15 minutes of your time. We're going to get out on time today. Just let me just feature this quick lesson, and I'll be out of your way. The week past, I was challenged to do a funeral service for the Hawkins family. I want you to know about this because it's a part of now the annals of Antioch church history. It was the most gruesome homicide I'd heard in a while. I picked up a paper, Reverend Damian Williams, and read the chronicle as it told us that one young man who frequented our church family during 1145 worship just became so enraged and angered, really attacked by the devil is what it should have said. Well, he picked up a Glock, shot his older brother, shot his sister, and shot another person. He actually wounded his girlfriend and then fled the scene. Anytime people are hurting in our community, our church represents God. So it has a spiritual obligation to share the love of God with those people. I don't care about memberships. I care about kingdom relationships. So when I heard of this horrific happening, Angela Bransford, I told our church staff, find that family and ask, can we help? Little did I know we had relatives of this family as a part of our church. And when I walked in Friday, Brother Taft, to see not one casket, not two caskets, but three caskets, my heart wept for that family. As I watched the mother sit in the corner seat on this front row, wounded by what life could throw her way, children that she bore and gave birth to, my heart sank. One of the little children, who was the daughter of the young lady who was murdered, walked up into the pulpit just as beautiful as she could be, 8 years old, and said to me, I want to say something about my mama. Without question, church, you know I gave this girl the mic. And Miller Chappelle, when she took that microphone and said, I want to tell you, I had the greatest mama in the whole world. It took everything for me not to just go to pieces. Yet, the devil is so busy. He would make people who go through moments like that think that God doesn't care about them. Like God took a coffee break, a vacation, or a station break. But on behalf of the CEO of Kingdom Enterprises, let me make this public service announcement. He is still God. He did not take a break. He did not walk off. And if I don't know anything else, I know some things about God that the enemy will never be able to change my mind no matter what I watch people go through. I am persuaded, as Paul would say, that God is a good God. I don't care whether you clap or not. He is so good. He woke you this morning, gave you thinking in your mind, health in your body. He is still a good God. I am persuaded that God is still a gracious God. He looks beyond your faults to see all of your needs. I am persuaded without a doubt God is a merciful God. I am even more persuaded that he is faithful to us even when we're not faithful to him. I can prove it if you make me. How can you get into a car that God pays the car note on, put gas in it that he made you afford to be able to get, buy an outfit to go somewhere that's not church at all? You are not coming to church. Have the unmitigated gall to drive there, do what you think you're going to do, and get home safely. Now, if there was no God who was faithful, you'd have died on the way. But because God is so faithful, he kept you all the way until you got there, held you while you were there, and got you all the way back home. God is a good. Watch this. I am for certain of the fact that when you cannot keep you, God keeps you in the hollow of his hand. And that brings me to the text, because Paul speaks with an affirmation that says, if I don't know anything else about God, I know that there is still a gospel. That's what he says in chapter 1, verse 16. Sister Muhammad, Paul says, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation, first to the Jew and then to everybody else. Can I stop and say this right quick? I want you to be the kind of church that is not ashamed to be a Christian every day of your life. Stop getting into circles where you feel like people are going to talk about you for loving God. Give them something to talk about. Let them see a Bible on your desk. Let them hear you say, I ain't lucky, I'm blessed. Luck ain't got nothing to do with what I am. And when they talk about you, no, they talked about Jesus too. I wish I had some people who were bold enough to just rejoice in public. Some of the people around you don't even want you to lift a hand, but you got to be bold enough to tell them, I don't care what you're going to say about me. You were not there when I was sick and needed God to be a healer. You were not there when I couldn't make it and God made a way for me. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I am not ashamed. He says in chapter 2, you are without excuse. He says, I don't care what you say, you are without excuse. You have to know there is a God somewhere. In chapter 3, he says, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Chapter 4, he makes us know that even though we are sinners, Rashonda, he has credited his righteousness to our account. Can I just pause right quick and say this? There is something about imputation that makes me so happy. That's why I preach it in every city. Every revival I go to this year, I tell them they have the imputed righteousness to their account. Can I tell you why? The blood of the Lamb paid the price for that. Watch this. God literally took our place so that when all was said and done, even in our flaws, mishaps, and mess-ups, we can still be on the Lord's side. I can always tell when there are people who know they're on the Lord's side, because when you mention the name Jesus, they get happy. Everybody else needs an organ to play, drums to beat, but you don't need all of that when you know whose side you're on. You can be riding down the freeway and just start thinking about the fact that I'm still on the team, I'm still on the Lord's side, he still has me. See that? It's some folk just getting happy right now. Others looking at you talking about what you're clapping for. Why come you're so happy? I'm happy because I know who I am. And I know if left to me, my life would be a mess. But God recruited me. He redeemed me. He renewed me. And he put me on his team. And even though I'm flawed, I've been forgiven. Even though I've got a past, my past has been pardoned. Even though I've got sin, I've got a Savior. Even though I've got mess ups, I've got mercy. Even though I've messed up a bunch of times, he gave me more grace. Even though I don't deserve it, he has looked beyond my thought. I wish I had I'm trying to hurry up. Tell a neighbor right quick, I'm on the Lord's side. Amen. By the time he gets to chapter 5, Deacon Ike Mills, he now implodes, explodes, explains so that we might retain the beauty of the love of God. And he says this. He says, Mark, no matter how messed up you are, Christ died for you. He loves you so much that he would be willing to die so you can live. Can I tell you why I'm preaching this to you right now? Because Easter coming. And there's going to be some unlovable folk at church. They're going to have tattoos on them. They ain't going to know how to dress. They're going to be looking all crazy. And I don't need you acting all uppity and sedity like you've been in church all your doggone life. Can I tell you why I'm preaching this? Because I want us to be a sinner-friendly church. So if a man looks gay, don't you look down your nose at him. If God can straighten out anybody else, including you, he can straighten out him. If a woman walks in and she looks like she's twisted, don't you talk about, oh my God. You just thank God for the grace that covered you, because the same grace that covered you is going to cover her. Don't you look at that boy who comes in with his pants halfway down his body. Don't even tell him to pull them up, because while you're worried about pulling up his pants, I'm worried about putting Jesus in his heart. And if we get Jesus in his heart, he'll pull up his own pants. Woo! I need about 50 of y'all who love the Lord too much to be dignified, sedity, and uppity, to tell somebody, if I don't know anything else, I know a God who saves, heals, and sanctifies, who delivers and sets you free. Amen. That's my whole sermon. Watch this. What does Paul give us about God? I want you to know. Number one, he wants us to know without question, God helps the weak. Everybody say, God helps the weak. One of the reasons why we block many of God's blessings in our lives is because we want to be so strong. We even have a cultural saying. I hear some of y'all say sometime. I hope y'all don't never say it around me no more. I hear people say all the time, I got this. That's what you think. You ain't got nothing. God will bring you to a point where he makes you know that if it had not been for God on your side, you wouldn't be. Let me talk to y'all. Hey, God will bring you to a point where he will make you tell everybody it was the Lord on my side. Is there anybody here that don't mind testifying? Tell your neighbor, I've been through too much in my lifetime. I should have quit a long time ago. But God keeps his hand on my life. When we were yet without strength. Everybody say without strength. You say it again, say without strength. It's the picture, Shannon, of an athlete who cannot run any longer. It's the picture of a man working in a field who's worked to the point, Mother Alice Ramsey, where he cannot go another further. Some of y'all have never been there yet. Some of y'all have never run in life to the point that you just can't run no more. Some of y'all have never gotten to the point that you woke up and didn't want to wake up that day, just couldn't do it no more. Some of y'all have never been there where you want to throw your hat in, put the towel down, and just walk off. But some of y'all have been there. And for those of you who have been there, y'all going to be my amen corner for about 3 more minutes. Because you know when you're at your weakest point, when you get to the point that says, I can't go no more, there is a God who steps into your life and doesn't just help you go some more, he helps you go the rest of the way. I need at least 10 of y'all who've been there where you couldn't go no more, to tell your neighbor what you're looking at is a testimony. Because I've been there where I couldn't do it, but God did it for me. Can I ask you a question for those who ain't said amen? Are you weak enough to bless? Are you lost enough for God to save? Are you feeble enough for God to carry? Are you broke enough for God to bless? Are you wounded enough for God to restore? Are you low enough for God to lift? I need some people in here who are broken, wounded, messed up, and barely making it, to show your neighbor what grace looks like walking on two legs. Because if it were not for the Lord carrying you, you wouldn't have made it to church this morning. I need some people that's been going through hell all week long to just tell your neighbor, neighbor, he helps me every day of my life. I cannot make it without God. Every time I take one step forward, something pulls me 2 steps back. Every time I think I got it made, the devil shoots something else at me. I would have lost my mind if it hadn't been for God. I've been through moments where my money couldn't buy it. My family turned their backs on me. My job was going crazy, but God was on my side. When we are weak, he is strong. Can I just drop one more thing in this pot before I move? Why does a good God set up moments for us to be weak in? The Romans hated weakness. Jews had too much pride. They were like some of us. They exposed weakness. We live in a culture where to be weak is always a negative thing. So we run from being weak. So here's the question. Why does God even put that in our lives where we can just have moments where we're weak? Can I show you why? Because he wants the glory from your story. See, if you could do it, you wouldn't need God. So God brings you to places where he knows you can't fix this. You can't handle this. It's too big for you. It's too much for you. It's too heavy for you. It's going to make you cry sometime. It's going to make you lose sleep at night. It'll make you run from your house. It'll make you not want to go back to your job, only for you to have to fall all the way to your knees and say, Father, I stretch my hands to thee. And when you lift your hand up, God puts his hand down. I need about 50 of y'all who really need God to throw your hands up right quick and just shout, I'm weak enough for you to bless. I'm weak enough for you to help. Without you, I cannot make it.